live.
Oh.
Hello, everyone. As you join, tell us where you're listening to us from. We always like to know where the Salon de la Musique audience is all around the world. You can tell us in the comment section. As usual, I myself am in Monza, which is a city close to Milan. It's where one of the stops of the Grand Prix is held. Antonia, I believe you're in Milan.
Yeah, now I'm.
We have a listener from the Mauritius.
Yeah, this is
How's the weather there?
The Salon de la Musique was growing.
We're just getting set up. Now for the first time, we're trying to broadcast on more platforms. Francesco is working on...
just a second, because here we have a return.
We have echo, yes.
If the new broadcasts are an issue, maybe we should turn them off and try them again next time. We're trying to expand.
Write us in the comment. How are you?
But in the meantime, I think people have begun to join. So I'm going to start off this episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome to this Salon de la Musique live community. My name is Nicola Stark, and your hosts today are Anna Bulkina, Francesco Comito, and Antonia Comito. Today we'll be talking about the importance of physical fitness for musicians. Injury prevention and physical fitness are all too often neglected by classical musicians. And this is a shame, because the sad truth is musicians often pay the price by having to retire early. To make sure this doesn't happen to you, Anna, Francesco, and Antonia will share their knowledge and experience on how to bring your best self to every performance by making sure you practice correctly and do not suffer any injuries. And I'm going to start off with you. I'm going to ask you, during your studies, were you taught about the importance of practicing correctly and preparing your body for the pseudo sport that is being a concert pianist?
Anna. I think we have some technical
We're having
issues.
some technical issues. Hold on a sec.
Okay, 1 second. Anna, are you here?
Maybe while we wait for Anna, if you want, Antonia, you can answer the same question. So when you throughout your studies, were you ever taught the importance of, and I repeat, not just physical fitness outside of piano practicing, but even when it comes to practicing itself, so practicing correctly so that you do not develop injuries? Is this something that was ever the focus of your courses?
In my personal experience, I can say that I had always a physical training background, because when I was a child, I was in classic ballet for 10 years, and I always did sports and training. But I know that living as a professional musician in the academic field, in conservatory, in academy, the institutions don't give enough space to the physical preparation. I understood that.
It's neglected.
Yeah, it's neglected. Yeah. And let's say it's something really vital. It's crucial because going deeper in how to control your body, how to be the best version of yourself can allow you to improve also from a technical perspective as a pianist. And
do you have some examples of this? Do you know maybe some old classmates of yours that you observed, where you observed their improvements as they paid more attention to these aspects of physical preparation?
Exactly.
What were they able to do? Like, do you have a practical example of this? Maybe they had an issue with a particular sonata, and then they started doing some specific type of exercise and they improved, what aspect of their playing improved as a consequence of them paying attention to physical fitness and correct practicing?
For example, in my teaching experience, I had many examples of students that focused too much on mental practicing and, practicing just with their fingers as pianists. They didn't have awareness at all of their body. This kind of mindset creates a heritage, let's say, of rigidity, of tensions, of blockage that create with time injuries like tendinitis. This is the English name.
Tendinitis, yeah.
Tendinitis, yeah. And all these kind of injuries that are specifics for pianists. Why? Because they were focusing just on fingers activity, for example, without considering using the proper amount of their body weight. They didn't consider how to control their body movement and how to have a smooth and natural technique on piano.
So let me see if I have this right. These musicians, the incorrect habit they had is they conceived of their fingers as something almost separate from the rest of their body.
Exactly.
Right? And instead, the correct way to play and to practice is to understand that your fingers are connected to the rest of your body. And in fact, it's a very complex connection. And so if you want to perform best with your fingers, you have to learn how to use the rest of your body as well, how to involve it correctly. Is this right?
Exactly. I think that these, let's call it just finger techniques, is the last part, the last tail of an old-fashioned techniques, pianistic techniques, I mean, that doesn't consider the use of body weight. In reality, when we are playing with all our body. We are using our shoulders, we are using our arms, we are using our core, and you have to use in a coordinate way, and you have to properly use them with synergy. How to improve this? Most of the time with my students, I solve this kind of problem with activities that allow them to understand how to control their body. For example, with yoga, or for example, with normal workouts that allow them to improve their connection, mental connection to physical movement. Because we are not just playing piano like this with fingers. We have to know how to move their body, how to move our body.
So you're talking about the mind-muscle connection, essentially.
Exactly.
This is because if I have it right, a pianist might understand how to play a piece from a purely intellectual perspective, let's say. But then the fact that their body, their fingers, and as we said, the rest of your body in its entirety, the fact that it's going to sort of obey these commands, let's call them, is a completely separate matter. In order to execute physically what you understand mentally, you need to have complete control of your body. You need to develop this mind-muscle connection.
Exactly. In order to have a natural and smooth way of playing. When you are performing, when you are practicing, you don't have to fight against yourself. You have to allow yourself to be free. To do this, you have to use your body, your whole body, your entire body, to help your finger to achieve the best results. Then very important is to have workouts, having constantly physical activity. For example, I think it's very useful yoga training. Why? Because is a very important way, a remarkable way to improve your mental muscle connection.
The mind muscle connection we were talking about before. Definitely, I think this is the case because it's yoga trains muscles that are often neglected. We're talking about small muscles that are crucial when you're performing on stage pieces that are extremely complex and fast, but that in everyday life are not so important. And I want to hand things off to you. I think you have a lot that you want to share.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
Michael.
Sorry.
To add one other thing that I think is very important, is remarkable, how workouts and how physical activity can improve your discipline. We know as musicians, as professional musicians, that discipline is something crucial in our, day-by-day routine. And we can improve our discipline as a musicians also with physical activity, because it's the clearly the manifestation to go beyond your physical limits and push yourself one step more and going beyond. I think this is also a remarkable aspect of doing constant activity.
Yeah,
Agreed, 100%. Anna, do you have anything you can tell us, please? We're thirsty for your knowledge.
Yeah, I wanted just to add to what Antonia said. Yeah, it is true that we all have to be like more aware about our bodies, especially when we are playing the instrument, and if we are aim for the professional career, because the more we spend time at the instrument, the more we use some muscles that we don't usually use in a like an everyday life. Yeah, so working out with these muscles during the practicing sessions can, if you do it in the wrong way or if you do it in an incorrect way, can cause some injuries, and these injuries will bring you trouble for the rest of your life. The problem is that if you're lucky and if you had a good teacher when you were a child, that good teacher would be like very attentive to your posture, to you, like the way how you use your fingers and the body weight, and then you are lucky. So then you will most likely will not have that many problems in the future, unless you were not like, for example, I can share my experience. So when I was a child, I never had, neither when I was a teenager or a young adult, I never had any physical training. Like, I never went to gym, I never exercised, I never, and it's funny because both of my parents, they were like in a big sport, they were professional sportsmen, they were both cyclists. So it's now when I look back, it seems really odd to me why we never, like, it was never presented to me that like option. As soon as I started playing piano, the only physical exercises that I was doing was exercising more and more, yeah, at the instrument. So I guess they just decided, okay, so since she's like practicing the whole day, it would be too cruel to make her exercise. I don't know what they were thinking, but anyways, I never had that habit. I never went to any classes, even dance class or any kind of a physical exercise. So when I started, I was introduced to a very proper, let's say, position and a position of fingers on the instrument and position at the instrument, like the posture. So I guess I never had any like problems with that. But when I started to grow up, so during the teenage, my body changed. I grew up, so I became taller, and my fingers became thinner. So and also, since I was growing, my repertoire was getting more and more complicated. So more and more I was introduced to a more complex tasks that I had to complete during the performance. So the question about the posture, about, you know, body weight and stuff like that went somewhere like on a very like back of my you know, preoccupation. So I was thinking about the beautiful sound, the phrasing, the you know, to play you know, everything that's how I wanted to play. So I gradually developed maybe not such a healthy appliance of force and body weight, and also my posture became like different. I can say that I saw the difference when I watched videos when I was a child, and then when I was like much older. So I saw the difference, and I saw the difference of the posture. So my shoulders went up, so I was like a little bit more blocked and tensed. That's what I tell my students all the time, that relax. If you ask, you know, my students, what is like the most frequent phrase that your teacher tells you, they would definitely answer, she tells us every lesson, relax.
Also, sorry for interrupting you, Anna. I want to highlight what you said. Guys, if you are practicing piano, if you are students, please record yourself. Recording is, I think, maybe the most important feedback that you can have. I think maybe is more powerful than a teacher, because
A
you
video
have
recording.
Videotape, yeah. In fact, when
also audio tape or videotape,
Yeah.
because you have a direct feedback. Record yourself, and also have a mirror with you to have constant feedback. Yeah.
When I started to preoccupy about my posture and the, you know, the way how I produce the sound and you know, all these kind of things, you know, if I would ask people around, they would say, well, no, nothing is wrong with your posture, like you're fine, like you play well, so why are you like worried? What are you worried about? But I still felt like there is something that is not working with me. So I started to try to like figure out myself. Now, I mean, it was a very long journey. It was like maybe 5 years journey. I was recording myself from both ways, like from right side and a left side. I would put the two phones like on both sides of the keyboard. I would just or there would be a mirror and the camera. So, and I would watch back, and I would realize, like, for example, when I try to, at first I thought it's the issue with my fingers. Then I understood that it's not the issue with the fingers, it's the issue with the
What do you mean issue with your fingers?
So do you recall that when they teach you how to play piano, they would tell that you have to sorry, here's the camera. So you have to kind of have that, you know, like a cup hand, right? The curved fingers, right? So so you use your fingers in a very effective, like kind of ergonomic way, right? So your palm is allowing you to be like very effective, you know, when you're moving along the way on the keyboard. But you know, there are people with long fingers, there are people with a different physiology of hands. So I mean, you cannot have the same approach to every hand. Like, for example, we talked about Horowitz yesterday. So he is playing with flat fingers and he can do it. I mean, he reaches his goals, musical goals by doing that. If you ask the music teacher in a school, for this small child, nobody would recommend to play with flat fingers. But when you are an adult, then you can have a responsibility for what you are doing, so you can find out your own way. So I guess I was not that much satisfied with my way. I wanted to make it more efficient. So, and I started to record myself, and then I would notice that even though when I look at myself in the mirror, I do what I want, as the second I stop watching myself, I come back to the old habits. And also, I notice that with the old repertoire, it's much harder to change habits than with the new repertoire. I could even notice that during the concert, the older pieces I play in one way, the newer pieces I play in another way.
This is a fantastic evidence.
That is fascinating, yeah.
Of how our default network works, because your old repertoire, it was stored in your default network. Then when you don't control and you are not pushing yourself to play in a more efficient way, your default network is still hunting you. You know, you study as you play years before.
I find out that if I want to play still the pieces that I learned like years ago, it has to be a very big gap between the last time I played these pieces and then now. So then I can actually apply new habits to that old piece. But if I play the piece like say not that long ago, then it will still haunt me, those old habits. So,
I have a question for you.
Yes.
But what about the wrong repertoire? For example, there are kids or there are even adults, they want to play, because also there is the theory of the mimetic desire. So I listen to this piece that everybody plays, so I also want to play this piece because somebody else plays it, but my body and my hands are not capable of doing it. There are some teachers, one of mine, that said that a good pianist must be able to play everything. I don't agree personally with that. There is also an interview with Horowitz. The journalist asked him, you have the most incredible technique of everybody. No, my technique, I think that is horrible. I can't play everything. It's about, in fact, what I cannot play, you will never see it on stage. So he was playing the repertoire for his ends, his repertoire. Or Glenn Gould, the same thing, for example, or other pianists. If you ask to your students, especially if they are kids, to practice the wrong repertoire, you can really create serious injuries it's really dangerous. So what is your thought about?
Well, I think that it's correct from like one side and incorrect from the other. It's correct from the side that yes, there are people who play who can be affected very much by the wrong repertoire, but I also think that I mean in this case it's a responsibility of a teacher. But I also believe that like starting from a certain age, one must or already like had or should develop a certain awareness of the body, of the possibilities, abilities, to be able to say, okay, that I can do, that is not yet, that is like I will be able to do if I would dedicate this. Like, for example, Richter was saying, oh, but when Glenn Gould plays Bach, it like every voice sounds like he plays it with a different color. And then he said, I could do it too, but I would have to practice too much for that. So I don't want to deal with that. So it's not about like Richter could not do that, but it was about like he didn't want to involve himself into that, kind of work, because he would understand that it would cost too much time to him.
Just a second. If you have one kid, there are some example.
Mm-hmm.
You can't give to one kid the first sonata by Scriabin. For
That was a weird choice. When you told me, I was like,
Just a second. You can't give to a kid the first sonata by Scriabin. First of all, because the kid can't understand them. First of all,
10 years old.
Wow.
First of all, because the kid can't understand the meaning of that piece. This is one thing. And second of all, because his hand is not developed. It's not, I'll say in English, it's not completely developed.
Yeah.
And so this is a really mad idea. It's really, really crazy. So also, for example, me personally, I don't say that I play everything. I it's like you take an elephant and you ask him to fly, or you take a bird and you ask him to swim.
One second, let's ask our community, our friends. Guys, do you know the first sonata by Scriabin? What's your opinion about let a child of 10 years old playing the first sonata by Scriabin? Write us in the comment.
That's crazy. I mean,
yeah.
That's crazy.
Antonia, you said that you played it when you were 10 years old. It was assigned to you when you were 10 years old.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
and how was your experience?
I remember that I started to learn that piece, pushing myself so hard. Okay, let's learn the first line, and then repeat this first line 100 times, and then add the second line. Really, with this workflow, it's impossible to absorb this kind of masterpiece that is the first sonata by Scriabin. A child cannot absorb this music from an interpretational perspective, from a physical perspective. Really, it's something that it's not right for a child. It's not the right time.
When do you think a pianist should learn it?
I think that to absorb Scriabin's music, you have to be really an adult.
Maybe you must be a genius. I mean, you can be child, but really particular child.
No, I'm saying adult from a mental, from
growing up. You have to mature mentally.
Exactly, and also to play Scriabin, you have to have an experiential background. You cannot play Scriabin if you don't understand what is madness. You cannot play Scriabin if you don't know what is black power. You cannot deal with that music, that dark music. You cannot deal with that insanity if you don't have that kind of imagination or experience. I think it's very important to have that kind of experience or have a very powerful fantasy, like imagination. Then it's not a cup of tea for a 10 years old child.
Yeah.
But what about the adults? For example, there are adults, for example, they have a really little hand, or I don't know, they have a very big hand, and so they want to always play the opposite, what they can't actually play. So they want to play it. I don't know for what is the reason
to challenge themselves.
But what is the reason to challenge? Why do you have to challenge? You have to express yourself. Sorry, Antonia, just a second. You have to express yourself as better as you can. It's like you ask to a cripple to run the marathon. Of course he can do it because there are the Paralympic, of course, etc. Sorry, but you understand that it's not the same thing of running the marathon if you have all you have all your legs and your strengths. It's a different thing.
Because I think it's a human being.
So Francesco, you're saying play to your strengths. You're not saying don't challenge yourself, and you're definitely not saying that if you are disabled you should not
challenge
practice
yourself,
sport.
not physically.
You're saying from the perspective of playing the piano. So you're saying when playing the piano, could take into consideration your physical limitations and therefore use what you have, play to your advantages. Because,
Exactly.
like you said, there are many great pianists who do not perform specific pieces, and they admit this, and they say, you will never see me perform specific pieces because I do not believe that I am very skilled at those pieces specifically due to my hand size or any other traits.
It's like, for example, you ask me to wear, one very un vestito molto stretto.
Very tight clothing, very formal.
Exactly,
Tight.
doesn't look good on me. So if I go to in a party, they will laugh at me. So why do I have to do it? I can go and wear a beautiful suit, right? That is for my body, and say, "Oh, that's nice." So the same thing is with music, according to my opinion.
I understand what you're saying. I think we can find a middle path because it's very important, as you said, to express yourself in a very comfortable way on stage and use just your strongest suits, during performances. But I think that also going outside your comfort zone can be a very important factor of growing.
It's true. But what about genetics? For example, if I have not the genetic of Arnold Schwarzenegger, or for example, I don't know, I have not the genetic of Michael Phelps. Okay, push yourself, going to win the Olympic game in swimming. I cannot do it because this is not me. Maybe I will be another.
But the music is beautiful because we have many choices, and as pianists, we are most fortunate of all because we have the biggest repertoire written for us.
They always play the same thing.
No, we have plenty to choose from.
Yeah, but why everybody plays always the same thing? Always Rachmaninoff second, Rachmaninoff third, always the same.
Because
the same
people
thing.
like it.
Yeah. Or because maybe somebody else likes it, and so you have to do it because it's cool.
I don't know if someone cannot like Second by Rachmaninoff. Okay,
there are people, they say there's garbage. Even
I know one specific guys that doesn't like Second by Rachmaninoff, and it's a completely.
Everything is possible.
Okay, then I think it's a learning process, it's a working process. Of course, if you don't have the Phelps genetics, you cannot go to Olympics. I know, but it's an improvement. It's a journey. You can push. You can expand yourself as you want. We are free to do whatever we want. Yeah.
I think that physical exercises are important in many ways, and I will now explain what I think about it. So based on my experience, I started to practice those physical exercises when I was maybe 29 or 28 years old, not earlier than that. Before, I think the only salvation I had is just the fact that I didn't have vacations or weekends. Every day was a practice day. So I was practicing every day. There was no even one day that I missed my practicing. If I missed the practicing, I would have to double the practice on next day. Or if it was not possible, I would have to distribute the lost hours to my next few days. So
move over, Michael Phelps.
Exactly. So that's why I think, that is my opinion. I don't know if it's right or wrong. I think that's why I never had deal with any hand injuries, even though I was practicing many hours a day. Then when I started to do the physical exercise, I gradually understood that, there is no need anymore for me to practice so much.
Exactly.
I mean, I can achieve all my goals by just, doing correct physical exercises and just, feel that strength that I would feel after like practicing 11 hours a day. Like I was like, wow, I wasted so much time. Really. Now when I think about it, I thought, yeah, when you're young and you practice a lot, that really brings, that really makes a difference, right? When you are like a child, and there are other children, and one is practicing 1 hour a week and another is practicing 4 hours a day, of course you will, develop much faster. So you will make an impression that you are like, wow. It's not wow, it's just like, it's just a question of like how many hours you dedicate to that. So, but when you grow up, it's not anymore the case, because there are things that you already worked up, like it's already in your muscles, you will not lose it. Also, some people, they have more or less natural abilities for like piano technique. For example, if you take your Cifra or Chifra, he was like self-taught. He went to the conservatory, but before he went to the conservatory, he was like playing with his father on like all and improvising on all like weddings and whatever, whenever they were invited. So he was self-taught. And if you look at his hand, his hands, like you would notice that the hand position is like strange. And then he plays in like everything by Liszt and like highly virtuosic works that one would spend years to master, and he would just like play it like it's like doesn't cost him anything. And that's what I call like a natural ability that I'm sure he was practicing a lot, but there are some limits for people, and for some people they go beyond that limits. For example, the famous Liszt etude, Transcendental Etude Fi Follet. Many people play it. If you say I play Fi Follet, yeah, okay. So many people play it, but there are people who play it in such way that is like untouchable. You cannot reach that level.
Dinara, where are you?
Young Dinara.
we are talking about you if you are listening.
I mean, yeah, let's talk about Dinara. Dinara, 8 years old. This girl played second etude by Chopin. I mean, there are people who spend years and years and the whole life, and they cannot play that with that ease. They just cannot. And she can. And it's like, of course she was practicing like crazy. Of course she was like dedicating hours and hours to piano. But there are many people who do that, but not so as many who can play on such, technical level with such ease. So,
But Opus 10?
Yes, Opus 10. Yeah, Opus 10, number 2. Yes.
We should invite Dinara again to talk here, so she can tell us,
about her experience. Yeah, yeah. But more and more, I hear from pianists, and not only pianists, but other musicians, especially if they are concert musicians, like they perform in concerts, that they are going on a regular basis. They are going to gym, that they are exercising on regular basis. I don't know if it's true, but I heard from people who know Yuja Wang personally that she's like, exercising a lot in gym. But I mean, I don't, it's somebody told me, but I don't know if it's like, I didn't hear it from her directly, but I heard from people who know her that she's exercising, like doing all the kind of workouts. And so I also saw in some social media of other musicians that they are like frequently go to gym and they exercise. So I think it's nowadays it became obvious for many musicians that the physical strength can give a lot of benefits, not only to your everyday life, but also to your professional life. It brings you stamina. It brings you, force and strength, and it brings you more energy to, achieve your goals, to work more, to to be able to do more. For example, my teacher in
from a mind performance perspective.
Yeah, so you can kind of how to say, you can
Improve
hold in your mind, bigger repertoire, and you can keep the concentration for a longer time. For example, my teacher in Imola, Petroshansky, he told me that when he was asked to play second concerto by Prokofiev, he started doing physical exercises like from day one. He's like, I was going running every day. Like I started to run like close to the bed. Like as soon as I woke up and stood up from the bed, I started running, and I was just like running. I went to run for like an hour or so, and then came back home and started practicing. So he was training himself, because this is a very demanding concerto. So to play all four movements with that power and energy. So you have to have some sources of that energy, right?
I want to discuss also this specific topic that I think can be very controversial, very interesting. I think that in the classical music space, we consider physical activity from, let's say, a space of fear. What I mean? You don't have to have physical activity using, for example, difficult exercise with your arms or with your wrist. You have to choose very carefully your physical activity. You have to do that specific exercise, and you don't have to do that specific exercise. There are do's and don'ts. But I understood with time that this mindset creates dangerous lacks. For example, if you don't have strength in your arms, this is a terrible lack as a human beings. What I mean, if you are not capable, for example, to do push-ups or burpees, you cannot, come si dice sollevarsi?
I would say in general, you can't control your body weight. So levarsi is to lift oneself. So you mean like pull yourself up or push yourself up. So we're talking about pull-ups and push-ups.
Exactly. I think this is a terrible lack as a human being. And I think we have to approach this kind of exercise with more ease, let's say. It's not dangerous if we can approach this kind of exercise in a proper way. You don't have to avoid to use your upper body. You don't have to scare to danger to let's say
to hurting yourself.
Your wrist, I don't know, of your arms. For example, I know, Anna, now you are practicing free climbing.
Yeah, but you see.
No, she's an example.
I just wanted to say, when I came to Imola, that was that was like long time ago. Right now, I was how many, like 8 years ago, right? So when I came to Imola, that was the first year when I started like physical exercises, because I'm not going to lie. In my school in Russia, in my conservatory, we had a class, like a physical class of the physical exercises, and the teacher was very, very like tough. He demanded for all his students that we had to go and we had to be there, and he actually wrote a book where he was giving an examples of famous composers or performers that were doing physical exercises, that it helped them immensely. But I could not appreciate that. I just escaped from the class. I just didn't go. And then finally, when I had to do like the final exam, the final test, after I did it, of course, I didn't know anything about technique, how to do this. I just did it because I needed the you know, the mark in my you know, that I passed the class, right? So, yeah. And so I did it, and next day I could not walk. I was I could not go down the stairs, and I was like, oh my god, this
I need a wheelchair.
Yeah, this is terrible. What is this? I injured myself. So I was like so mad at that teacher, because, you know, I didn't understand that, you know, it happened just because, first of all, you did a lot of things at once, you never exercised, so it's your fault after all, right? They gave you the opportunity, you just didn't use it. So when I started to exercise, I was very happy that I found, you know, that kind of, you know, I took some online classes, but it was, you know, women coaches. So they were like very, very nice and very careful. And they were spending a lot of time on a technique. So they told you, they would say, okay, if you do this, you will injure yourself. It will be painful. So don't do it in this way, do it in that way. So, I am happy that I started to do it when I started to do it with the right technique. But what Antonia is saying is true. As a pianist, or as any musician that is doing something with hands, we are really, it's a psychological problem. We are afraid to injure our hands. So we would rather stay away from push-ups and pull-ups. We would rather stay away from anything that, you know, brings some pressure on the wrist, on the forearm. So, and every time I had to do push-up, I was like, oh my God, it's so painful to my wrist. So I don't want to do it. And so I stopped doing it. So everything that I exercised was the lower body, maybe a little bit of abs. That's it. So I didn't do anything for my shoulders or for wrist. Then I realized that the reason why I have the pain in my wrist, because they are weak.
Yeah,
because they are weak, I need to strengthen them. I need to do some exercises, maybe not push-ups, but something that will strengthen them enough that I will be able to do push-ups. Okay, so I started to do push-ups on my knees, and this year I am very proud that I can do like the entire body. Yeah.
How many push-ups can you do?
Last time I did 50. So now,
hold on a sec, and I have to call you out on this, because 50 regular push-ups top to bottom is absolutely a very difficult feat to achieve. And maybe that's your case, but maybe you're referring to sort of limited range push-ups.
No, it's a full body length, yes, but I did it not at once 50. I did 10 times 5.
Oh, okay. That makes a very big difference. All right. Thank you for
I know, but
otherwise,
you know, I could not do even one. I could not do even one. You see?
Right. That's the case for many women. So being able to do 5 legitimate push-ups, you know, top to bottom is quite something already. It's a great achievement.
Yes, and I did it like in a period from September to now, to December. Before, I would only do the push-ups on my knees.
And by the way, if anybody listening maybe even has trouble doing knee push-ups, that's perfectly normal. What you can do is you can start with incline push-ups. So you find a wall and you
I do that too.
That's fantastic. You see, so you take a step back from this wall, and you know, placing your hands on the wall, you gradually get closer to it, and then you push yourself back. And that's a great way to start. It's all about creating a gradual progression.
Yeah, exactly.
I have the same experience, Anna. The same. The first time that I did my push-ups, I couldn't do one, really. But I think it's a fantastic journey, because you know, you really realize how body adapts to everything, and you can absorb and learn new skills and do something that really for you thought it really impossible. I always thought about push-ups, something that, it's not my stuff.
It's not mine. Yeah, it's not mine. Yeah, that's what I thought.
We're going to start a class, fitness class for musicians.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
We can train in Zoom all together.
Yeah,
Guys,
because
that all of me and Francesco, Anna, and me, we are following a personal trainer. We have a personal trainer who is,
Yeah, killer, yeah. Yeah, he's great because despite the fact that we are all, those, fragile artists, we're like, oh, I'm afraid to injure my wrist. He's like, yes. Another push-up, please.
Salutiamo Roberto.
Ciao.
Yeah, so those kind of things are important when free climbing. So I don't know how it is, like, it's not for losing calories because it's not really, calorie consuming activity, but it is a great way just to have fun.
To smash your head if you fall.
Yes, and then when you are grabbing the thing when you're climbing with your fingers, you then feel like your fingers become stronger. And there are people who are practicing the finger strength. They are not pianists or any other instrument performers. They are not musicians at all. They just like climbers, so they exercise their fingers, and their fingers are extremely strong. And I was so impressed by like how strong their fingers are. And so for the climbing, you don't really need that much of that exercises, unless you are really want to be a professional climber, and then you would have to with two fingers like take a little rock and be able to kind of hold the whole body on those
tell the story. The last time we've been together there, I don't do this thing because I'm afraid of heights. I would say it's correct in English.
Yeah.
Yes, you know it. I can't look.
No, but I thought that maybe with Anna, doing this.
No, I was only looking her. I don't do this
He just watching me.
And so what happened? There was a girl that was like a sort of Spider-Man. She's crazy things, and she was giving some advice to
because
Anna,
that was my first time.
to Anna, and I said, but just a second. She's a pianist. I said to this girl, like, good, I'm a piano teacher. So,
and she said, oh, I broke my wrist a couple of times, and I was like, oh.
I said, are you crazy? Oh my god.
No.
How can you do
She
this
said,
thing?
like, oh, I broke my wrist a couple of times. I'm like, oh my god, it's my first time here.
She's
Yeah,
so fun. I like her.
Oh my god. If I will do these things, like you see a walrus climbing the mountain.
You have very strong legs.
Yes, even a very strong arm, but I'm afraid.
You know what they teach you the first time you go there? They teach you how to fall. Because actually the person is not afraid of height. He's afraid of, like you fall from that height, right? So the first thing you need to learn is how to fall. Like you just do it on purpose. You just like fall back.
But the first thing that they said is that is instinctively when you fall, you want to put your arm down. And what happened? That I imagine myself as a pianist that, I mean, falling, I put my arm and my arm, they break like this. Oh my God.
They say you have to group yourself like that. So that's how all the climbers, they know how to do it. If they fall, they try to protect the spine.
I think this is a very powerful mindset. I think that this fear has to be, how can we say, a factor of improvement. You have to push yourself to go beyond fear and understand how to solve the problem, how to prevent injuries, not avoiding the experience, I have fear, not do it. No, do it in a proper way. Like, understand how.
Yeah, the thing is, very often we are not doing it in a proper way, and that's what really drives us away from the problem, that we think, no, it's not for me, I don't want to do it. It's like actually to approach the piece of music, that the repertoire, the difficult piece, if you approach it from that perspective, like, okay, you tried it 2 days and it doesn't work, okay, I'll rather play something else. Instead, maybe you would like, yeah, that's maybe a different thing, but still, even playing in a difficult piece but in a proper way, even if you will not achieve those cosmic stratospheric levels like some very selected people, still you will improve immensely. Like you will be a different person.
Yeah,
And that's why I think that at some point people have to challenge themselves with the difficult, repertoire, not because they need to play it, like not necessarily even on stage, but they have to deal with it somehow.
I think that we have to enjoy challenges. We have to
Yeah.
enjoy it. We have to invite challenges in our life, because it's an incredible growth factor.
For example, like I can share my experience. Like for many years, I had a very, very like in the past, I had a very brutal experience with one of the Bach's preludes and fugues. It just came to, and like I was crazy about them, and it's just like I had a trauma, psychological trauma of that prelude and fugue. So since that, I avoided playing Bach. Or if I had to play Bach, I would choose something like that I would play even in my sleep. So for many years, I would not learn even one new piece by Bach. At some point, I told myself, okay, that's, you have to finish that. That is not good for you. It's that problem you have to solve. So what I did, I chose the 10 pages fugue, fantasy and 10 pages fugue, and I learned it and I played it. And then after that, I kind of fixed that block that I had psychologically with the Bach music. So I play more and more Bach music now.
You just ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. I read that Ivan climbed 10 meters and could not get back. Then I decided to start swimming. I swim 1,000 meters without touching water from us. What do you mean, Ivan? I didn't understand.
Did you follow some video video instruction for swimmers? Like there are some videos on YouTube you can watch, because I cannot swim too. So
It's not true.
Well, I swim like a dog.
No.
I'm like,
But when we go to the sea together, it's funny because I can swim very well.
Yeah, he's like a whale.
And so
A whale.
Super
Whale.
super
Whale.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Whale.
Whale.
And so it's super funny to see her escaping from me, because I try always to, I'd say, to annegarla, to make
to play. We have to add the word play, to play, drown her.
Yeah.
Exactly. So she escaped like a little afraid dog, and me like a shark. Exactly.
Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah, but when I watch the videos on YouTube, like how to swim, and it never helped me. So you really have to be in a swimming pool and with the instructor, preferably, to teach you how to do.
I mean, without warming up. Amazing. Congrats, Ian.
Very well. I think throughout this conversation, especially the first half, we gave our audience some tools that they can apply in their own practice sessions. And in the future, I know that, Francesco, you told me that Thomas Schwann actually is quite the expert on some of the topics that we touched on today. So maybe in future episodes, we'll have him on and he can tell us a bit more.
I also would like to call Dinara Clinton to come and join our
and talk about her experience,
community call, and talk about her experience practicing all Etudes, Transcendental Etudes by
yes,
Liszt.
she made a. I think
fantastic
she
CD,
was like
fantastic.
16 or 15 when she recorded all 24 etudes by Chopin, and then she recorded all transcendental etudes by Liszt, like, you know.
She's fantastic.
And then she recorded all sonatas by Prokofiev.
The last CD, actually.
Yeah, all sonatas by Prokofiev.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now we will call her. Absolutely. We must invite her. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll do that. Very well. Thank you, everyone, for watching, listening, and subscribing. We hope you enjoyed this Salon de la Musique live community call. We look forward to seeing you next time. Before we wrap up, a word from our sponsor.